This is Michael Tucker, and you're watching the new Legends on Deck podcast with host Brian Koss and David Condi.
We're live here at the Nona Card Show, the first Nona Card Show. We are packed at the Drive Shack here in Orlando. It is a great turnout. It's hard to even walk in here. We've got vendors from everything from Leighton Sports Cards, which is a Popka store. We've got JK Awesome Collectibles, an Orlando-based store, and then just guys that are doing it on the internet and other places. We got Patrick with PLM Collectibles over here that's put on the show, and we're going to talk to him a little bit later. But great stuff going on here. I'm gonna give a little bit of a better look at what's happening here. Kind of walk around and look at the tables, and we'll see what we can find.
LeBron is a bum. I can't stand him. I tried to get this
That's Patrick, who's running the show. Can't even get to him, it's so crowded.
Gotta go to Jason.
But he goes in the morning and they know there's only, say, 3 cards that are worth something.
Patrick with PLM Collectibles. He's the guy running the show here. Awesome turnout. I mean, you can't even walk in here. Right? Yeah, absolutely.
That's good to know. That's nice.
Oh, Adam Bates has arrived.
That's probably the best part.
People out here swapping cards, doing all those things. These people are all involved in this show as well. There's people out here going through cards, trading, looking at what they're selling, what they're buying. It's huge. Huge, huge, huge. Good. You guys are doing great. This place is packed, huh? Yep. Love it. Love it, love it. What do you got so far, George? Show us a few things. You bought a couple cool cards with your own money, yeah. That's sweet. And then you got a whole box. These are mostly giveaways over here, right? Sweet. Yeah, most of these tables here are giving away some stuff for kids. As we walked around, we find more things for kids, right? Cool. I'm gonna keep walking. I'm gonna keep going for a little bit. And these guys are live, so I'm live streaming their live stream. They're on Instagram. We're on Facebook. It's all the same, right? What's up, guys? It's packed in here, man. It is packed. I like this. I'm streaming your product right now. So these are sawdust, SDM, handcrafted card displays. So if you see them over here, these are a nice way to put your cards out on a shelf, out to display your best stuff. Handcrafted out of wood, and he's right here in Korey, so. Orlando-based guy, yeah, or Korey-based. He's on our side of town. So, very cool.
No bow. Come on.
No Bo yet. We're looking. Adam Bates is looking for Bo Jackson. If anybody's got some Bo Jackson cards out there. Yeah, Patrick's right in the thick of it. He hasn't been left alone since I walked in here. And they were open, and they hadn't even. I walked in here about 10 minutes to 11, and they were already full, and it was already going. And it was supposed to open at 11. All right, so I'm going to sign off. We're going to record a show from here shortly. And we are going to do a recorded show talking about baseball cards, talking about the hobby. We're going to talk to Patrick a little bit, who's gone on the show, and we're going to kind of bring some good attention to the hobby and what people like to do on a Saturday afternoon here in Orlando before the baseball season. Of course, there's basketball cards here, there's football cards, there's Pokemon cards, there's every kind of card collectible that you could find. Legends on Deck. We're interested mostly on the baseball side. My son George, he's all into the baseball cards. So we're looking for some good finds, but also just to promote the hobby and get kids. The good thing I've seen, the thing I like that I've seen here so far, is there's kids here. There's kids here, and the good thing is they are, they're into it. You get to watch them, and they're great. They know the terminology. They know what's looking for graded cards or raw cards, and it's amazing what these kids know about the hobby. So we are going to sign off, but we'll be on in a little bit to check out a little bit more interest related to the show. Or we're going to record a show from here. It's going to be kind of a unique environment for us. We're used to having guests with recorded questions and other things. It's a better view. So I'm not going to sign off quite yet. So we're used to having guests with pre-recorded questions where we get to talk beforehand. This show's going to be a little bit more raw. And it's a little bit difficult because it's in a noisy environment. But we're going to set up, and we're going to do the best we can from here It's fun, like I said, a fun day to be a baseball fan, to be a sports card collector. And this is going to be a show they're going to do, I mean, based on the success they have here. Let's give you a better view. It's like we're at Drive Shack, so you have people out here, hitting golf balls. So that's kind of a neat environment because you've got, not only do you have, cards, but you have entertainment. You have golf, so you got kind of bring the sports element in with the sports. It's really cool. I think he's going to have an April show, and a summer show, and a fall show, so a quarterly show. I think they will easily, no problem. PLM Collectibles and Mang Collectibles are in on this, but I think there will be no problem having multiple shows. There'd be high demand for 4 shows. They may have to add shows based on what I'm seeing here. And keep in mind, this has only been open since 11 o'clock. I walked in here at 10 minutes to 11, and the place was already packed. And it's open until 5. So, great job, guys. We look forward to talking more about the card hobby, and looking forward to finding more baseball cards today. All right, bye.
So we are somewhat live today. By the time you see this, is going to be kind of recorded already, but at the Nona Collects Baseball Card Show in Lake Nona, Orlando area. And my co-host Brian is on live location, at the location live. Oh, obviously, I keep saying live, but obviously, we are recording the show, but he's there with his son, who we see him now, George, in the bottom screen here. And we're going to record episode 23, a little bit different than what we normally do, but we kind of want to highlight something that's kind of growing now again with adults and young kids, and which is baseball cards. So we're gonna switch it over to Brian now. He's gonna kind of give me a little bit of input of what's going on there behind him.
Yeah, thanks, Tim. So we are here. We've been here right since about the time a little before it opened here at 11 o'clock, and we're in Lake Nona, which is in kind of southeast Orlando area. So it's outside of Orlando suburban area, but the southeast part of Orange County. And it's a very fast-growing new building area. I talked to Patrick, and we're going to hopefully have him on in a little bit to talk about the guy. He started the show with PLM Collectibles, and he wanted to get this thing going. And I'll tell you what, it's unbelievably successful. I mean, there are people shoulder to shoulder in this room right now. The unique thing about it is that Drive Shack, which is like if you don't know Drive Shack, you might know Top Golf.
Yeah.
It's the same concept. If you look out to my left over here, there's all the bays where people could come in and hit golf balls. It's 50% off for anybody that's attending the show. So it's really, really cool. There's people out on the patios and out by the drive bays with binders of cards, going through stuff. And it's a variety. We have a lot of baseball cards here. George and I are really baseball card collectors. George particularly, but there's a lot of basketball, a lot of football, gaming like Pokemon and things like that. It's got a little bit of everything. So there's something for everybody here. Layton Sports Cards is here, which is a big card shop here in the Orlando area. There's JK Awesome Collectibles that's right next to me. That's also a sports card shop here in Orlando. So there's shops, there's private owners, there's collectors, there's people selling. There's a little bit of everything.
Hey, so we see on the bottom screen we have looks like George. George, let me see your shirt for a second, George.
Show me your shirt. Lean back.
Yeah, so
Great.
yeah, I get it. It's okay. We didn't go pretty far either this year, so I'll let you wear that for right now. It's all good.
Yeah, he got a Atlanta Braves the red one, the Matt Olson jersey for what was it, for Christmas?
Yeah, it was Christmas.
So he's got an Acuna one, and he's got a Acuna home jersey and alternate jersey. And you can't see it, but I'm wearing the Miguel Cabrera jersey.
That's right. I got my Puerto Rican jersey today. My screen came on behind me, so I'm gonna go ahead and just pause my screen for a second.
Oh, there you go.
One day I'll be in a real studio recording the show. So, yeah, I got my Puerto Rican jersey because the WBC will be this year. So that'll be another episode that we can really go over the WBC.
That's gonna be great. Yeah, we were talking, you and I was talking to some other guys. We have Adam Bates here somewhere. Adam's over here. Adam's the general manager of the Winter Garden Squeeze collegiately, and big in the umpiring community as well. And he's going crazy for cards right now. He's up there. He's flipping through everybody's stuff. He's got some collectibles out here. But we were talking between high school baseball, we got their tryouts this week. So high school baseball, college baseball starts in about 20 days. And then you've got spring training right around the corner with the World Baseball
right?
From now,
so much baseball.
From now on, we're actually, believe it or not, we're on January 28th, but this is baseball season already.
So, George, I wanted to show you something. I know you're a big baseball card buff, right? So this is way before your time, but I have Tim Raines,
Hall of Fame,
1986, and I have Andre Dawson,
Hall of Fame.
So unfortunately, I don't think I would ever part with these, but show me what you have.
What do you got today, George?
See what you got.
Today I have Buster Posey. Buster Posey, just the normal one.
And those are Topps Chrome, right?
Yeah, they're all Topps Chrome. Most of them were Topps Chrome. Actually, all of them, I think. Wait, no, just most of them. This one is Bryce Harper.
That's a nice looking card.
And
yeah, it's not 1985 Topps there with the wooden.
A little more shiny.
Yeah.
What else, buddy? What else you got there?
And we also have a Sean Murphy card. He's a new catcher for the Braves.
I'm sure you're excited about
Star
that.
on the A's. Mike Trout, Topps Chrome too.
That's a nice card.
Here's Adam Bates. Got him right in front. He's playing around now. What'd you pick up, Adam?
My local guys, my Logan Gilbert, my Ryan Passes, and the Catalyst.
Let me see. I'm gonna check out what Adam's got real quick. All right, so we got Nico Homer. You see it?
Yeah, nice.
We got Logan Gilbert, and we got Ryan Mountcastle. We've had
local guy.
Local guy. I've been collecting Ryan Mountcastle cards too, and he's a Hackard High School guy, just like Ryan Von Brookston. We've had Mike Sedone on to talk about Hackard High School. So actually, where we are in Orlando right now, we're in Lake Nona. If you go just north of here, about 20 minutes, you'll be in Oviedo. That's where all those guys came up. So,
and they just had their 2012 draft first female high.
Yeah. So we're doing pretty good over here. George, what else you get in there?
Paul Goldschmidt, Topps Chrome too.
MVP this year.
Christian Yelich, Topps Chrome.
Yes.
Gadrick Mullins, Topps Chrome. Another Christian Yelich, Topps Chrome.
Photo time.
Nelson Cruz, Topps Chrome. And there's this one guy, I'm not exactly sure who Curtis Terry is, but in a case, so I guess he's pretty good.
What's the name of that guy? What's his name?
Topps, just Topps.
Show him the cheater card you got.
What?
Show the Derek Jeter card.
Oh yeah, the Derek Jeter card. That's over $100. Derek Jeter,
Wow. Oh, that's a
1992
future
draft pick.
draft pick. That's awesome. Did you
We
land that in the
picked that
game?
one up for about $2, but
Really?
certain graded versions of that, you get it graded. Some of them are worth hundreds, even thousands. That exact card. So
Wow.
we might have to send it in to get graded and see what it turns out to be, and then show them the. There's another couple of ones that you picked. Oh, show them that O'Neal Cruz rookie card you got.
O'Neal Cruz, yeah. I got this O'Neal Cruz rookie card that was like supposed to be like a holiday one. The guy said, and
yeah,
also,
they came out with Topps came out with a holiday pack. So it's got like snowflakes and Christmas lights and garland stuff all around the
Kind of
card.
reminds me of the photos that Matthew Copper used to take for us when he put all the stuff on his photos.
Right.
So George, what's your favorite card of the ones you've gotten?
What's your favorite one today that you picked up?
My favorite one today, they're all cool ones, but I would say probably the favorite O'Neal Cruz.
Really? That's cool.
Yeah, we've been collecting O'Neal Cruz rookie cards. Who else have we been collecting? Rookie cards, Bobby Wood Jr. rookie cards. I think the top rookies that have come out in the last year or so, we've been trying to stockpile those ones. You never know who the next superstar is.
Explain to our followers that may not understand what the whole concept is to grade the cards. Like, what process do you think that they need to do? And actually, when our guest comes on, we can ask them the same thing. But with the knowledge you guys know.
So the grading process is, you take a card that you believe has high value, and you send it into a company like there's PSA and GSA. There's 3 or 4 grading companies, and then they base it on certain criteria. So it's like, here's an Elroy Jimenez rookie, right? So they grade it on certain criteria. So is the corners and the edges? So when you pull a card out of a pack, you want to be as careful as you can with it. When we were kids, David, we just pulled cards out of packs, spread them out all over the table.
Just like I have here, right?
Right. And George pulls cards out. I'm like, be careful. But at the same time, the cards nowadays seem to have a lot more value to them. In the 80s and the early 90s, they produced so many cards and so many just basic cards that most of those cards have a very low value to them. Whereas nowadays, you get all these really neat, refractor cards. And do you have any refractors in there, George? Let's see if we can find something that's got a unique. I think we picked up 1 or 2. George, did you get any refractor cards?
Refractor? I think this is refractor.
Yeah, there you turn it around.
This card.
So you see how it's got that shiny gloss and behind it. So a lot of these are called refractors, and it's like something we never saw when we were kids. Like once in a while, you have like a little Topps rookie thing in the corner and stuff. But nowadays, like you pull these really interesting things out. Here's a great example. Good time, Adam. So here's a 9.5 Ryan Mountcastle graded card, right? So Ryan Mountcastle rookie. It's a gold refractor, and it's graded 9.5. So what that means is 10 is your best card, right? 10 is like your perfect card. 9.5 is obviously very high. So the higher the grade, the more value the card has. So that's kind of the process. I'm learning a lot because George has gotten into the hobby. So I'm learning a lot more myself. I just when we were kids, like I said, we collect. and then we would just kind of resort them, maybe put them into teams, maybe do that kind of thing. And we didn't really think too much about like what value they had, other than we liked those players, or we wanted to collect teams and have a good time with them. But nowadays, so many things are so valuable, so you just, there's so much out there too. Internet, information on the internet, YouTube videos. We have Lady Sports Cards here. Lady Sports Cards is really big into the live breaks. So they do the live breaking. A lot of times people will buy into the break. So what they do is, Layton's, we're gonna have a live break on Saturday night. And then all these people buy pieces of that box. See, George might say, I want all the Atlanta Braves in that box. I'll give you $100 for all the Atlanta Braves in that box. And I say, I want all the Detroit Tigers in that box. I'll give them $100. And you want all the New York Mets in that box, and you're going to give them $100. Well, it might be. So you might, one of those might not get your $100 worth of cards, or you might pull out one card that's a Pete Alonso rare refractor card, or a Ron Acuna rare card that's got a piece of his uniform on it or something, and you paid $100 and you might get $500 in return.
You're taking a risk. Card. It's like
it's kind of a
lottery type of
thing. It's a little bit like a lottery, but for baseball cards, and it's something that we're interested in, something we've been learning about, but there's so much of that out there. It's just amazing. And then this community here, there's some real gurus here. They know what they're talking about when it comes to cards. George, I have a question for you.
What?
So what currently at home, what are your favorite cards that you have at home that you've been putting aside? Can we think of a couple of them? Which cards do you like? Which players do you like to collect?
Well, I like Dansby Swanson cards and Oscar Riley and Ronald Acuna. Those are like my three favorites.
Yeah, and George is reconciled with the fact that Dansby Swanson signed with the Cubs. So he said he'll still root for them regardless. Or at least for Dansby Swanson, even though he's disappointed he left the Braves. But he's excited. Are you excited, George, that we're going to have you're going to have Javon Briss maybe as the starting shortstop on the Braves this year? So we're going to have a local guy maybe. We got Patrick here from PLM Collectibles. I'm going to put you on over here. George. Great job, buddy.
Thank you, George. We'll talk some more because you and I got to talk baseball, Mets, Braves, baseball.
We might bring George in for like an MLB prediction show or something.
There you go.
I'm great at predicting stuff.
Yeah,
I saw that. I saw you predicted my Mets to lose. That's okay.
Yeah, he beat me in a March Madness bracket last year. And it's sitting in our garage. Like right when you walk in the door in our garage, there's the bracket that says winner George, loser Dad.
As long as you don't have my name on there, I'm good.
Yep. Perfect. All right, George, Patrick's going to sit on over here. Thanks, buddy. Okay, this is Patrick, and he
George,
is.
what's up, dude? You good?
He is
Brian, you good?
brain trust behind this operation here at the Nona Card Show, right? So, Patrick, this is David. David's in Fort Myers.
How you doing, buddy?
Okay. And we just wanted you to come on for a couple of minutes to talk about what you do in the card industry, and then what was your idea behind putting this particular show together?
Okay. So basically, this came down to a need. I've been around shows, collectible shows, my entire life, going to big comic book conventions, local card shows, and all that. It's just been in my blood, and it'll never, ever leave. But I moved over here to the Lake Nona area, southeast Orlando, and basically when we moved over here, we saw there wasn't a lot of stores over here. So the sense of community and the card collecting community in general wasn't really over here that we knew of. A lot of the stores are half an hour, 45 minutes away. So the youth of this community wasn't able to get to those stores as often. And one of the ways I know that the community grows is through card shows. It's something on a weekend usually where mom and dad brings their kids, teenagers come, and honestly, youth of all ages come to buy, sell, trade their sports cards, and to a larger extent, TCG cards. All the Pokemon, Magic the Gathering cards that we're seeing come into the market since the 90s. It's been pretty big. So the big thing for us was to create a card show that we could do locally and have winner. I'll get with you in 1 second. We had a raffle for the kids.
We got a winner.
The first winner
This kid right here.
was just came back to get their prize, so we'll go hook them up in a minute.
They got some cool stuff.
But this card show basically was birthed from the idea that we wanted to have it in a venue that was different. Cards are going to be cards. Cards haven't evolved too terribly much. There is some evolution, but overall, this room is full of cardboard and adults and kids that like that cardboard, whether it's a fake animal that fights other fake animals, or it's an Adley Rutschman rookie card, or a Wander Franco rookie card, or Joe Burrow. So for us, it was a great venue, a venue that was willing to work with us, provide pricing that made the most sense, to bring in 32 tables to start it small and get this community spurred up so that we could see what this community is capable of. And if today's an indication, it's capable of quite a bit, because this room's been full all morning.
I want to say that. I mean, he said start it small, but I'll tell you what, this may be not the largest room in the world, but I'll tell you, there are people shoulder to shoulder. Since it's one, we're talking right now, it's 1:24 in the afternoon. I walked in here prior to 11 o'clock, and there were already people packing the room. And it's shoulder to shoulder in this place for the last 2 hours. So it's beyond successful for the launch of this show. So congrats on that.
Thank you.
We look forward to continuing to help you guys bring attention to this show.
Absolutely.
And we're going to get continue to be here, and maybe we'll broadcast again next time, and even we might even try to do a live show if we can get it down at some point. So
absolutely.
I have one question for Patrick. So I have older cards. My cards are from the 80s, early 90s. What do I do with those cards? I mean, are there any value in those cards?
So I'm a product of the 80s, and I have a lot of 80s and 90s cards, or I used to. So the big thing of the 80s and 90s was what they called the junk wax era. And it was a mass, in the 80s and 90s, Americans largely discovered what collectability was. So you had this boom in product. Every manufacturer was making as much as they could because people were consuming it. But at some point, it was oversaturated. With 80s and 90s cards, I like to do is you do your cursory check. You knew, or now in the 2000s, who made it, right? 89 King Griffey Jr. That's that upper deck card still holds value, right? You've got to go back to those cards and cherry pick out. It's 2%, 5% of your cards are going to be those cards that were all, Hall of Famers or soon to be Hall of Famers, and they're rookie cards. And then some of them are going to be error rookie cards or variant rookie cards, things that make them different, unique, and rare. Because the beauty of the 80s and 90s are most of the people that collected then as youth are now old enough with discretionary income to go back and collect the big cards from their youth that they couldn't afford back then, or they couldn't get their hands on. And it's funny, couldn't afford a $20 card back then, but now it's a $400 card and they can afford it. It just comes down to, cherry picking, looking for the diamonds in the rough. Because the sad reality is, outside of the stats printed on the back, most of those cards aren't worth the paper they're printed on. So you're going to get, if I was buying a collection from a guy or helping someone consign, I'm going to spend hours mining through every single card, looking for the rookies that matter, looking for the oddities, the weird cards, and then I'm going to go comp those and look at those. And that's where almost all your value is going to come from, 5% of your cards. So
I have a question real quick on the cards from back then. Why is it that, you have some ball players that had some great years, right? So like you said, are we looking at the card itself? Or are we looking at what that ball player did? Because if I have a Barry Bonds rookie, it's not worth much of anything right now. If you would think he had a pretty decent career. So what is it? What's really going on with
his card market's going to have the same problem that his Hall of Fame ballot has, and it's the use, and it is what it is, right? And I played baseball my whole life, and I don't feel like that tainted enough to say he can't get in the Hall of Fame. He still hit the ball. He was still a monster before he started hitting everything out of the park. But at the end of the day, there are still purists in the hobby that are the same purists that say, hey, I don't want my kid to inherit this really great card of this really great player, because then I have to explain to him what he did. I look at it as a father, that's an example to talk about of what not to do.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, Barry Bonds is just, it's an optics problem from the standpoint, the same reason why he's not in the Hall. It's because of what he did to enhance his career, and that card market's there. And there weren't a couple of his rookie cards. They were making tons of them. There's a lot of them out there. But hey, go look at a PSA 10 Barry Bonds rookie card, or look at the Tiffany back version, you know, the rarer versions of those cards, and they're immensely valuable cards. Just the tattered, you know, PSA 6 good, very good cards of his base, they're just not there because everyone knows what he is. His career's over. His stats won't grow one more hit. Well, he won't steal another base, and he's got that specter hanging out over his head, so he's got to deal with that.
So it's a little bit of everything, pretty much, with a card on the value of it, based on what it's overall. It's not just the card, the type of card, the overall person that's on there.
A lot of historic cards are based on what they've done historically. Some of the newer stuff's based on what people think they'll do. They're making bets to get the next Ted Williams, to get the next Trout, because they were sleeping when Trout came in. And people got Trout cards and Bowman firsts and early tops and threw them away. Because they didn't think Trout would become anybody, because that's speculation from a prospect. That's baseball's big thing. So you've got to look at it from that standpoint of, you know, they'll get Wander Franco. He's billed as a #1 guy, and he's in a great system. So people are speculating, and they're injecting more money into his market. His market cap's so big because people are hoping that they bet right that he will be a 5-tool player, a Hall of Famer, or he's going to win, you know, Golden Gloves on deep. You know, he's going to do all the things he's supposed to do, and they'll take that gamble. So COVID did a number on the market when it came to gambling and taking those shots. But baseball's always had that prospect where you get Bowman's first, you might have 30 guys in there. Well, 2 might pan out, right? So you're buying all 30 in the hopes that 2 of your penny stocks become $40, $50 stocks. And then hedge your bet on the dollar stocks or penny stocks that maybe don't work out. But Barry Bonds doesn't have that speculation. You know, you look at George Brett, you look at, I mean, Ted Williams or Willie Mays, all the monsters. Or Johnny Damon, a local guy. You look at all these guys, Jacob deGrom. Yes, Jacob has a career left, right? He's still playing, he's still flinging it. But speculation-wise, we're done. We're past that. He's already has accolades. So it's the baseball market in general has a really big speculator market based on the prospects. So just like the MLB clubs, they all speculate and they grab these guys up in droves. They bust them around the country in hopes that one of them will make it to a big contract.
Absolutely. Couple quick fire rapid questions. I know you got a lot of people barking at you. Favorite baseball team, favorite baseball player, favorite baseball card that you own.
So for me, it's hard. I played baseball my whole life and I kind of faded. Favorite baseball player is going to be Zach Greinke. Anybody, I mean, I batted against him and did that well against him in Little League, but we played against him and my brother. He's a local kid. He's, you know, he had some adversity early in his career and he overcame it. I think life's about teachable moments and overcoming things. And Zach did a really good job of smashing some Cy Young awards and also some home runs in the mix. My favorite team, I don't have a favorite team. Everyone in Orlando grew up Braves fans because we didn't have any proximity besides Atlanta. My twin brother is a Mets fan and he'd be mad if I didn't mention them. He's a giant Mets fan. His whole collection's predominantly Mets, Pete Alonso, all polar bear stuff. When I find it, I buy it for him. And what was the third part of that?
Favorite baseball card that you own, or what your prize, maybe 2 or 3 cards even.
Baseball card that I own, I don't have a lot of baseball cards anymore. I have a Bob Clemente, Roberto Clemente, like 2nd, 3rd year, mid-grade. It's just one of those, just obviously, you know, untouchable legends of the game.
Sure.
And I was able to acquire that through a private sale, and I've held on to it. I plan on for a long time. So
very cool. Well, Patrick, I'll let you get back
hopefully
to the
one day I'll
Thank
be
you.
in person.
Yeah.
I'm on the other side of the state, and one day I'll be able to drive over there, where I could be in person. And
when
my
he's
son was
renting out
looking
the
forward to
Amway
it, but-
Center for the
Yeah.
show next time.
Hey, and they have one in West Palm Beach. Drive Shack does, so we might have to talk about bringing a show down there.
Oh, that'd be great.
Doing it at another Drive Shack because we know it works. So
Awesome,
Love
guys.
it. It's been
but I
great.
appreciate you guys. Okay.
Patrick, thank
Yeah.
you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, so I've got another kid that might come on here. Oh, there he is. Miles, you want to jump on? Get him in a minute. He's buying cars. I got another guest that we'll get momentarily, but I'm going to mute that other. Can we mute the other one for right now?
Yeah, whatever you want. Put anybody on. I want to ask Patrick one question about in 2020 when they had the big boom where people were buying packs and you were limited to buy packs in Target. So are we past that whole boom, or are we able to still buy packs?
Oh, I see. Yeah. Well, I let him go for the time being.
That's fine. You can ask him later and catch up
Just
to him.
because I'll ask him, but just because he's
He's
in
a
high
busy
demand,
guy. You
he's
can
got
see it's
people.
packed there.
He's got it's packed. You've got people asking him about raffle prizes. He's been working his own booth, so you can just see what's going on. I mean, there's been a million people walking around. I'm just going to show everybody for a minute. If you want to check out also in Legends on Deck, we have our live stream going, or we had a live stream going for about 15 minutes, but this is another stream. It just, you could see everybody kind of getting in the mix over here. But
Does everybody, so tell me, do they know that we're there? Do they know that we're doing the podcast? The people who are in the room?
they do. I've introduced myself to a number of vendors over here, and kind of dropped our card there. I said I'm doing a little live stream, doing a podcast from here. So been kind of connecting with people, but most of them have been so busy selling, and they have people. Every booth has got somebody, at every moment has got somebody messing around trying to look at what they have and trying to buy something. So everybody here is making money. Everybody here is selling. Everybody here that's here to buy is having a good time. So it's that busy, and it's no lie. Yeah,
it's interesting. It's interesting because the people who don't go to the shows, all we have is eBay or online type of and you don't know if you're getting the right price for it, what you're getting for it. But it's very interesting when you go to a show that you can actually ask the right questions to somebody that knows exactly what's going on.
You can, and the interesting thing that I saw, and this is kind of plays into that whole modern technology thing. So what you'll see is somebody walk up to a booth, look at a card, and then go to their phone and look to see if that card is priced appropriately. So this is a very honest marketplace. So you can't really get away with anything here. There's no price gouging going on, because everybody they'll look on eBay and say, okay, this card is listed for this, and this, and then there's negotiation involved too. They'll say, I'll give you, this is really you're saying it's $75, but I think it's a $50 card, but I'll give you, $60 for it. They'll negotiate a price maybe. But
what's the turnaround time you think that people will buy a card? Are they looking to really hold on to it for the life of the person's career, the way Patrick was talking about, or are they looking to flip it and try to make more, down the road or even more recently?
Sure. Yeah, I think it depends on, I think it depends on the person involved in that. There are people that I think are primarily in it for the business side of it, that are kind of looking to say, okay, here's my pack, here's what I've got, here's my box, it's worth this. I'll pull out this card. Like I said, you can break a box of cards that are worth that's $100 box of cards, and you could pull out 2 or 3 cards that are worth $200-300 a piece. So you've more than made your money back on the box. And then there's collectors, and then there's people in the business, and then there's a mix, of course, of both. I think everybody that sells cards also has their own personal collection too, and they may be selling duplicates of that card, or they may be saying, what, I don't think this player is going to have the market value long term that they think that other people think they're going to have, so I'll sell them now and then somebody may believe that that player does have the longevity. So there's a bit of gambling involved, right? So like Wander Franco rookie cards are hot. O'Neal Cruz rookie cards are hot. George and I like those. Adley Rutschman, Mountcastle. There's a lot of guys we like to collect. We collect the local guys for fun reasons too. Because we might be able to interact with those guys too. There's a lot of guys that come out of the Orlando area or your area, state of Florida particularly. The number of draft picks that come out of Florida are huge. So we may have more of a chance to see them live, maybe get that card signed, or something like that. So there's kind of a personal connection with that. So your favorite player, Adam, who is still wandering around here, he has got the most incredible collection of Bo Jackson cards that I've ever seen. Bo Jackson's an Auburn guy. Adam went to Auburn, and he just has like every Bo Jackson card he finds, he buys.
I guess that's a good point to make, that not everyone is buying. Not like, okay, so I have my baseball cards from 1986.
Yep.
And those are my prized possessions. I put them in a box and I keep them, and they may not become this major, most expensive cards, but that's our era, right? So his guy is Bo Jackson. So when he comes on, he can share with us, what about Bo Jackson makes him want to share, collect his cards.
Right.
Just
Bo Jackson was a great athlete,
favorite guys.
Great player, but he was, Bo Jackson's not in the Hall of Fame, but he was one of the greatest, I would say, overall athletes of all time. Very few have ever played two sports simultaneously. Deion Sanders being another one, but there wasn't many, right? So he's got that collection. But it's like George is like, Austin Riley. Personally, I think Austin Riley may be Hall of Fame material the way that he has started his career, but you never know what's going to happen to these guys long term, right? You could have a career-ending injury at 30 years old, have a great 7-8 year stretch, and then not make it, no matter which guy it is. So you never quite know. I would think, from my standpoint, it's like, buy the people you like. If you're getting in the hobby, get the people you like. Maybe sell the people that are valuable that you really don't care about as much. We all have our favorite teams, our favorite players. We all have different judgments about who we think is going to have a long-term trajectory in their career. My thought process recently was buy Miguel Cabrera cards, buy Justin Verlander cards, buy maybe Max Scherzer or somebody like that, are near the end of their career, that when they retire in the 5 years, they're going to be in the Hall of Fame.
Well, here's a good question to that. So normally, back when we were younger, we would think, hey, get the rookie card, because that's the first card that came out. So is there still the value to that?
That's the biggest thing. I would say rookie cards are the biggest thing. I was just thinking from myself, my standpoint, I'm like, I don't hear anybody talking what I'm just saying now, but I think the upgrade from retire to, we're talking about future Hall of Famers. There's not that many of them, so there's not that many future Hall of Famers.
What year of the card, what year do you think that card becomes an expensive card? Is it because you have the rookie card, or the year that they actually had that great season that maybe, he won the 25 games that year? Like what is the card that stands out above the rest?
Yeah, that's a good question. I don't know which card of that player would have the most value. Obviously maybe the most rare cards, they have these numbered cards now, like some of these, like Patrick was talking about. There's just so many unique rare cards that these companies release where they're like numbered 1 through 50. So that means there's only 50 of those exact cards printed. So if there's only 50 printed, but there's thousands and thousands of packs out there in boxes, that means that a lot of people are going to get cards, but they're not going to get that card. So that would raise, just basic economics, like unless you have something, the scarcity, the more value it's going to have. So I think a lot of that, it's what's interesting about cards, I think, is that a lot of those sort of raw basic economic principles seem to apply to cards.
Yeah. Well, and Patrick made a point real quick about like Mike Trout, probably when he was a rookie, people didn't think, and then he took off the next year. But then you have your son has a Nelson Cruz card,
Yep.
And it took him about 4 or 5 years before he actually got going,
Yep.
and then became a stud moving on. But then, he has his card now.
That's right.
He's gonna be probably one of the top, once he retires, and the fact that he's so, the age that he has, now his son has a card that may be worth something now that wouldn't have been worth anything when he first started.
That's right. I think that's exactly right. You don't know when the guy. We've talked about this with young players, at a youth level. You don't know when that kid's going to really take off and become a superstar and get somebody that's going to be recruited or drafted. The same thing with pro players. Everybody kind of develops a little bit differently. Some guys come right out of the gate. You're going to have your Bryce Harper at 19, or Ken Griffey Jr. at 19 that are up in the big leagues already and making a splash. And then you're going to have guys that aren't up playing and producing until they're in their middle to late 20s.
Yeah.
So, I think the card market is kind of the same way. I personally have, if you go back, I used to collect, just like you. It was like I had a lot of late 80s, early 90s, in my collection. I do find though, I did stockpile a lot of Griffey cards. So I've been able to go back through some of my old stuff and find the Griffies. I do think there's some value there. Griffey was one I would grab. Chipper Jones was one I would grab. Frank Thomas is one I would grab. And recently, looking back at that era that I kind of grew up in, my favorite, when I go to a card show, I tend to grab a couple things. I grab, if I see, I love Tony Gwynn and I love Greg Maddux. And those two guys, they were like those, to me, they were like those pure players.
Yeah.
Where, Tony Gwynn didn't hit a lot of home runs, but that guy made contact on everything. And Greg Maddux was the same way. He didn't throw the ball real hard, but he fooled everything. So, those are guys I liked as a kid, that when I go out and I see stuff, I don't care if they're worth a lot of money. I'll go buy a Tony Gwynn card for $5 if I don't have that one. So it's I think a lot of it's personal preference. A lot of it, if there's obviously more gurus than I am on the card market. I'm kind of an amateur in the card market right now, given that I collected as a kid, but then now, I'm getting back into it because my son's into it.
That's good.
So I'm learning more. It's that I think the card markets. I just wrote an article on the website the other day about it. I kind of put the vocabulary together. We never have that kind of vocabulary. I never talked as a kid. I'm going to go rip a pack.
Yeah.
I'm going to go, what kind of sealed wax do you have over here? Like, nobody talked like that. That's all new term. That's all new slang. But it's the same principle. It's like what I like seeing at this show. And I've been to a few shows in the Orlando area, different locations. There are more kids at this show than any show that I've been to. I haven't been to a lot, but there's kids here. There's a lot of kids here, and they're real. And I can tell the kids that are here are really into it. I mean, I'm watching them go booth to booth and looking for players and trying to figure out what they want and who they want. So it's pretty cool to see. I mean, I know my son's into it, but I don't always meet. He tells me, the kids at school don't care about this. Well, there are kids out here in our area that care about it. So I think it's growing with young kids. I don't know about you, but one of the biggest values that I saw as a kid, and it's not as important anymore because we have baseballreference.com in our cell phones. But I used to love to comb through the stats on the back of the cards.
Yeah, that was our news for the each player, what they
Right.
did.
Right, especially if they were like a guy that had been established in the league for a long time, and they would print the whole, 10 years of stats, and you could look year by year, and you could figure out what he did those years. You're like, oh my gosh, I can't believe Nolan Ryan threw, 250 strikeouts that year. And how many years
they fit everything on here, right? And being an old age now, I can't really read without my glasses, but to have all the stats on one card, was awesome. And I'm over here holding up my Andre Dawson. And I know we mentioned he's in the Hall of Fame, but I can't seem to think what this card would be worth.
Well, that's funny you mentioned. So that card. So George has been sorting through some old decks, and was that an 85 tops? Or an 87?
Well, the year is 86 for the stats.
86. Okay, so that's an 87 tops.
Okay.
We just sorted through an entire set of 87 tops a couple of weeks ago over Christmas break. And if you go through it, it's funny because you don't have the Arizona Diamondbacks, you don't have the Tampa Bay Rays, you don't have the Florida Marlins, no Colorado Rockies. So those 4 teams are not in there, but you do have the Montreal Expos. So you're like, it's like even the teams when you sort through and you got the Expos, and then you look at the cards and you see all the old logos.
Yeah.
You think about how many teams have had different uniforms since that time frame. It's just the uniforms are totally different. Well, what I do love is that you see a lot of those uniforms coming back.
Old school, yep.
So everybody's kind of using them as like everyone's got the nostalgia. Korey Reed just showed up. Sorry. He's
anybody else you want to get on the show?
I'm trying. Actually, I had a kid that wanted to come on, and then his mom was trying to flag him down, and then I realized that he was getting occupied. He's like, he didn't want to wait while Patrick was going, so he just kept going, and he's really into the hobby.
He might be in the back trading them, like no reason to drop them down.
That's what I'm thinking he's doing. I haven't seen him come back around again. All right, we might get Korey Reed on here for a minute.
While we wait for anybody to come on, I just want to plug our podcast is sponsored by Easy Mortgage, which is a home residential mortgage company. Not only do they handle the state of Florida, but they handle all other states as well. We also have our own merch page, which is we share it at the end of the video. We have a link going to the merch page.
Want to jump on?
So we have our own t-shirts and hats and anything you want to have Legends on Deck on. As you can see, Brian has his hat with Legends on Deck on it. So we pretty much get any. I'm just sharing with them about our hats and our merch and our t-shirts that we have.
I'm gonna try to get Korey to turn the volume up on that thing. I muted. I think we muted it.
Oh, we're good now. It's not muted right now. I can hear.
Okay, can we hear you, Korey?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. This is Korey Reed, one of the guys in our inner circle here. Korey is he is launched. I'm gonna have him talk briefly about a little bit about his baseball career and then also what he's doing now with Sandlot Skills. Korey, tell us about what is Sandlot Skills and briefly what is your background in baseball?
Well, I played collegiately and then got into coaching about 6 years ago. Been out of private facilities, training players 1-on-1, 2-on-1, 3-on-1 in a small group setting. And about a year and a half ago, I had a desire to take what we were doing in a private setting, in private facilities, and bring it back to the parks, put it back in the dirt, share it with, teams or leagues or larger groups of kids. So basically focus on fundamentals for grassroots players.
Well, that's beautiful. And the name Sandlot is perfect because it goes back to the roots, right? Just kind of let them get out there and just play the game and not have to worry about all the crazy rules that are out there. Let them love the game and understand it first before they have to now switch it with the rules that baseball has right now.
That's right.
That's awesome. So what brings you to the show? You looking for your favorite baseball card?
Oh, yeah. I came to hang out with George, to be honest. George is my buddy. So actually come over here, George. We got a couple things that I want to play around with you that was given to me recently. So George is all pumped up, so am I.
This is the candy bowl at Halloween.
That's awesome.
George is coming back.
Give me a little idea as to where do you want to take Sandlot to? I mean, are you focused on taking Sandlot anywhere that you can find kids that want to play?
What's that?
Are you focused on taking Sandlot Skills, in Orlando and outside Orlando, wherever kids want to play?
Yeah, we'll take it as far as it can go. I think a lot of it depends on good people, good coaches, and of course, good players make good coaches. So it's all about the community, finding good players and seeing what they need and seeing how we can help them out on this Sandlot and beyond.
Awesome.
Yeah, Korey's a hitting guy. He's a hitting expert, and we've been. He's got. I'm looking forward to seeing what he does up here in Orlando, and he's got access with fields in the city of Orlando. He's working with local little leagues and other organizations, gonna bring kids and coaches and do training for kids, but also for coaches, and give them all the kids and coaches the tools they need, to get kids in the game. We connected here with Korey. Just walked in the room here a few minutes ago. What are your impressions as you walked into this room looking at this show?
I can't believe how many people are in here. It's busy. It's exciting. There's a lot of energy.
Yeah,
It's awesome
cool.
that
It
kids.
is. It is. I haven't got a chance to check out all the displays and stuff yet, but just scanning the room here, it's a lot of action.
How many
George,
kids do you actually see in the room, Korey?
Well,
How many
we have
kids?
quite a few kids in here, right?
Oh yeah.
We may want to start up a Sandlot game outside. Take over the golf
They got
area and
some.
just
They got
have them
some
start
turf
playing
out
baseball.
here. They got some turf out here on the side. They got some cornhole boards. You could probably throw a baseball around over here too.
Yeah.
So as long as we don't break a window, I assume. But,
That's all right. I think the golf ball might be a little harder anyway, so it's fine.
yeah. So I think I lost my other kid here, or the kid that was going to come on. But I just wanted to say that this is, well, first of all, this has been an experiment, right? So we're going to have Korey back on in probably another couple of months to recap what he did with Sandlot Skills, and his partner on Sandlot Skills is one of the other coaches he's coaching with, and we'll get them on to kind of talk about how it's developed over here in Orlando. But we want to make baseball cards part of all, right? So Legends on Deck, Sandlot Skills, getting kids back into the collecting hobby, so that they know what, the thing is having the knowledge on the players. These are the guys. If you're a young ball player, collecting cards is like the way to have a piece of that player, right? So we want to get kids back into the hobby of collecting so that their knowledge on players grows, and then they can appreciate, it's cool to have. You can share with your friends, share them with your baseball team. Maybe we get kids on baseball teams to get together and trade cards.
Well, you never know. One day those kids are going to be on the card.
They're going to be
They'll
on
have
the
the
card,
experience of being a part of Sandlot and the baseball card collection.
Right. Korey, you have a favorite, before we go, you have a favorite card that you or player that you like to collect, or you have when you were younger?
Oh, it was Nolan Ryan. There's boxes at the house of Nolan Ryan cards. So actually, my middle name's Nolan, so it's kind of
There you go.
given no choice. Yeah, going right into it.
That's perfect.
Awesome.
You can't go wrong with that.
No.
Can't go wrong with that. The Ryan Express, and I commented on Nolan Ryan earlier because when I was young, it was, Ryan was like at the end of his career, early 90s. So he played till what, 95 or 96? And I would look at the back of a Nolan Ryan card and I would look, oh, New York Mets, California Angels, Houston Astros. I mean, it's like the back of the card was like, took up the whole card. He almost couldn't print enough stats on the card for the amount of time that he played, the amount of years he played. So yeah, I could see that. Ryan, you can't go wrong with Nolan Ryan cards. I love it. So I think, David, we're going to wrap up the episode.
Yeah, I think this has been a great episode.
It
gives our followers a different look into what we're about and how we're trying to bring more attention to baseball-oriented events, right?
That's right. And don't forget to look at the merchandise store, Legends on Deck merchandise store. Buy yourself a hat or a T-shirt like this. And Use It Mortgage, one of our sponsors for the show, our main sponsor for the show. So we want Use It Mortgage for anybody that's looking to buy or sell, really to buy a house, right? So you need a mortgage to buy a house. Use It Mortgage has got it for you. So let's episode 23 here at the Nona Card Show. A very unique, one of our very first on-site episode for Legends on Deck. So we look forward to many more. Korey, thanks for joining.
Thanks for having me, guys.
Always a pleasure.
Enjoy your day and find me a diamond in the rough card, Brian.
Okay, I'll be looking for Lenny Dykstra or Greg Jeffries cards for you.
There you go. All right, guys.
All right.
Thanks for the show.
All right. Take care.
See you guys.
Good.